it's going down, man. It's the Donnie Houston Podcast. I am Donnie Houston. Hey, check it out, man. We got a special guest today. He's a former professional baseball player. He's a DJ. He's a producer. He's an author. You know what I mean? And if you don't know him for any of that, unfortunately, he was a victim of police brutality, which cut his baseball career short, which we'll get into all that real soon. But check it out, man. Robbie Tolan, what's the deal, man?
Yes, sir, man. Thank you for having me, bro. It's
Hey,
an honor
man.
to be on the Donnie Houston Podcast, man.
Hey, man, I'm glad you're here, bro.
I appreciate it, man. I've been seeing the good things that you're doing, man, and seeing everybody that's coming on the show, man. It feels it's cool, you know what I mean, to be invited. So I appreciate that, boss.
For sure. So what's been going on, man?
Nothing, man. You know, just
You got the book?
I got the book.
Yeah.
The book. I just graduated college.
For sure. Congratulations, man. What'd you major in?
Criminal justice, oddly enough. Right?
Okay.
Kind of cliche a little bit, but
did you go to college after high school, or did you go to the
I
league?
went to college after high school. So I played baseball through high school, you know, since I was a little kid growing up. And I didn't get drafted out of high school, so I went to college. Honestly, between, you know, I'm obviously not between you and me because, you know, it's a podcast, but
Right.
but I mean, I went to school because they let me play baseball. Real talk, you know what I mean? I went to school just to play baseball. I wasn't. Because you know that was it for me. I was supposed to be on this fast track to the major leagues, and so it was, you know, the conduit to get me to that point. You know, it was the means to an end type of thing. So I went to school to get better, and because they let me play ball, and because the ultimate goal was to be in the major league. So, yeah, went to school, played ball for a few years, signed with the Washington Nationals. Played for a couple of years, and obviously, you know, what that incident that we don't like to talk about happened.
Right.
And I just decided a year ago, fall of 2018, to go back and finish my degree.
Okay. So shit. Okay. Well, let's take it back a little bit. Let's just talk about, because I mean, baseball is clearly a thing. Like, did your dad play baseball?
My dad played 14 years in the major leagues, man. 6 World Series rings.
Wow. So he wasn't like no chump. Like, this was serious business.
No, he was a real deal.
How was it growing up being a kid with a dad? I mean, your dad is, you know, in the league. You know what I mean?
So my dad is he had me when he was a little bit older. So he had retired by the time I was born.
Okay.
But you know, he retired and went right into coaching. So he was still around the game. He was still coaching. I was still around the game. You know, growing up around, you know, some of the, you know, 90s biggest baseball stars, Ken Griffey Jr., Tony Gwynn. You know what I mean? Tony Gwynn was, you know, my dad was his first hitting coach. Ken Griffey Jr., you know, we consider ourselves to be family. You know, they were just here for my graduation.
I saw that, yeah. That shit tripped me out because Ken Griffey Jr. is like, it's like he got like, in my opinion, you talk about like 90s athletes. It's like you got like Deion, you got like Ken Griffey, you got like Jordan. You know what I mean? It's just like, Ken Griffey, fool. That was iconic, fool. You know what I mean? Yeah. When I seen that was live, but yeah.
Yeah, it was super cool, man. So so even though my dad was retired, you know what I mean, I still got that that experience. You know what I mean? Of course, not so much as, you know, the kid of a current player, but I mean, we were around him a lot, bro. Like, I mean, we was constantly flying out. Remember when Griffey broke his wrist in '97, diving into the wall? Yeah. My parents and I were on the first plane in Seattle. You know what I mean? Yeah, man, it was cool. I've had a lot of really, really dope experiences, man. So, you know. So
did you naturally gravitate to baseball, or was your dad kind of like, oh no, you're gonna be?
Yeah,
I
did. No, they, you know, I think he knew and he saw from, you know, just being around the game for so long that if you push your child to do something, they're probably going to rebel, right? So my dad was like, look, I'll buy him whatever. He can do basketball. I was terrible at that. My first sport that I actually played, like organized, was soccer. But I hate running. You know what I mean? So I played football a little bit. I played tennis. You know what I mean? I did whatever. I did everything. But baseball was all. I did other sports to fill in the gap between baseball season. You know what I mean? Like I just wanted to stay active. I always liked doing sports and just being active. So everything else, football, basketball, tennis, soccer, whatever, was just to fill in those gaps. But it was always baseball. Always.
So were you? I mean, a DJ now. Why were you into music and all that back then, or what were you doing as far as with that?
I was honestly. I always had an ear for it. I could, I could hear a song once on the radio and hum it type of thing. I could hear a song once on the radio, not hear it for several years, and be able to sing it. You know what I mean? Not I wasn't trying to be a singer or nothing like that, but
Right.
but I've always just been into everything music. Back before puberty. When I had that little Michael Jackson voice, you know what I mean? I was trying to, man.
Okay.
I was trying to. I started writing songs at like 9. You know what I mean? Performing at like little family gatherings. Come on, Robbie, do the little song you wrote.
Oh,
Me and my
man.
cousins get up there, do a little dance and sing, and then
I was gonna ask you because you got to have a dance back then.
We were like, my cousin Chase and I, man, we were like choreographing like dances. You know what I mean? We were just weird little kids, dude. You know what I mean? Like, we were just weird little kids, man. I would always, I actually did this with baseball too, but I would always like do like weird shit, like interview myself. You know what I mean? And I thought,
you know what? I'm not gonna lie, bro, because I had hoop dreams when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like I distinctly remember being in there. I had the goal in the room. You know what I mean? I mean, I didn't set up. I had a little lamp. I set that shit up like a spotlight. It's the dunk contest. I didn't want a dunk contest.
Yeah.
What do you have to
well,
say?
yeah, real talk. And so I would do that all the time. So much when my parents would be like, "Fuck," like you know what I mean? Like we'd be on the way home from a baseball game, and I'd be in the back seat, like interview me, and they'd be like, "Look, bro, we tired, man. Like good game and shit. Like, I'd be like, no, interview me," or I'll just start interviewing myself.
Yeah.
So Robbie, what were you thinking when you hit that 3-1 pitch? For real,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I always thought it was preparing me for a life in baseball, which it was, and I did interviews and excelled at them, and wasn't camera shy and wasn't afraid of a microphone, but it was also preparing me for the other piece of a big chunk of my life with the shooting and all of that stuff. And so I've always given like really I don't want to be like obnoxious, but I've always given like really good interviews. You know what I mean? Like I'm just very poised and comfortable in front of lights and the mic and the camera and stuff. So
Right.
it was just one of those weird like little quirks about me that really ended up benefiting me, years down the line. So I was a weird little dude, man. I was a weird little kid, man. I used to put on concerts in my room, you know what I mean? Like wardrobe changes and everything, you know what I'm saying? Like
What were you listening to back then?
Ooh, so I grew up in San Diego, right? So my dad finished his career with the Padres, and so he went right into coaching. So I was born in San Diego. That's when like the '90s, dance pop stuff was popping. So like Robin S.
Yeah.
CNC Music Factory, Marky Mark,
All that.
Hammer was, just up the
CC
street in the Bay.
Peniston, you got to show.
Yeah. All of that. I'm trying to think what else. Everybody said my mom used to look like CC Peniston, so I would listen to her quite a bit. Sade, Shabba Ranks was big, and I think the
Maxi
first
Priest and all that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think the first couple of CDs that I remember getting, actually it's 3 of them, and the first one is really, really weird, and it's Cats, the musical.
Okay.
For whatever reason, I did like the theater. You know what I mean? And I would go to a lot of theater with my parents and stuff. The first one I remember getting was Cats. It's weird to say. The second one was the Criss Cross album. Totally Crossed Out.
Yeah.
And then the third one was Love Deluxe by Sade. Those are the three that I remember getting. The first three that I remember having. I'm sure I had more because again, I've always been into the music thing, and I had a cousin that worked for Epic Records for a long time, so she would always send me the singles that they had coming out.
Right.
I had two uncles that were radio DJs in Lafayette. So I was just always into, and that's where I got like a lot of the instrumentals from, you know what I mean? Because they would send me the single with the instrumental, the acapella, and I would just write my own song to the instrumental. You know what I mean? But yeah, a lot of that '90s dance stuff. Obviously, being in California, so close to LA, the
G-Funk and all that.
The G-Funk, the Dre, the Snoop.
Yeah.
So I lived in San Diego until I was about 9 or 10, and then we moved to Houston.
Oh, so that's like right around the time when like the Rockets was winning and all that.
Yeah. And so I think I always joke, man, that we can kind of get into this a little bit too if you want, but I've never been like an Astros fan ever. Just
because of your dad and
because of my dad and his teams, and just the stuff that he would tell me, like historically the Astros really didn't fool with black people like that. You know what I mean? Like in the front office, like in management, like that's neither here nor there. But I've never been.
No, go ahead. I mean, this is interesting
fan.
to me. Go ahead. This is my first time hearing this.
If they got one, like Bo Porter, for example, right? They got one just to be like, all right, see?
Here's our one.
But they was on his ass, man. They was on his ass, dude. Like after every game, they would scrutinize every decision that he made. Well, why did you hit and run in the second inning? Why did you steal this guy? Why didn't you steal this guy? And they were just on him. Like they couldn't, they had to micromanage him. And he was out of there in a hurry. So, but I've always with the new owner, Jim Crane, he's starting to come around. He's starting to put more resources behind the Astros Youth Academy. You might have heard about it before, but it's at Sylvester Turner Park, in Acres Home. Okay. So what that is, and they have several youth academies under the umbrella of the major league organization. They got one in Dallas for the Rangers. They got one in Compton. I think the Compton one was the first one. But what it is it's giving free lessons to inner city kids that otherwise wouldn't have the resources to have that type of instruction or the equipment to play baseball. Everything is donated so that if you come in some shorts, they got a shirt for you, they got pants for you, they got cleats for you, they got gloves, bats, and all that good stuff. So Jim Crane, the new owner of the Astros, is putting more resources behind that in an attempt to revive baseball in the inner cities. That's what RBI stands for. Well, RBI as the global organization, not the baseball stat.
Right.
But it was really dope when they won in 2017 because the last time Houston won championships was 94, 95. I was 9 and 10 years old. Right. You know what I mean? I couldn't go out and turn up in the city. But I actually watched the game with a good friend of mine who's a big Astros fan, and he was like, "Dude, we won. You got to come out. You got to come out." And so I was like, all right. And so we went out, and it was just really dope to see that.
It was a good vibe in the city, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The city was shut down, especially after Harvey, you know what I mean? Like just being able to bounce back as a city and just seeing that level of camaraderie and that mutual respect for everybody. Everybody was high-fiving everybody, white people, black people.
Yeah, no, it was all
cops,
love.
You know what I mean? It was just like, and so that was really dope to see. But yeah, so I moved right when the Rockets started doing that thing. 94, I think, is when we came here.
Man, that's what's up. So what was your first impression of Houston, like versus Cali?
Well, my mom is from Liberty. Which I don't know if you know what that is, but it's like halfway between Houston and Walmart.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Liberty, Baytown, Ames, Raywood, all kind of in the same vicinity, and so the majority of my mom's family was here. minus a few brothers. My mom is one of 11, so she had a few siblings that had gone elsewhere, Atlanta, Cali, Georgia, Atlanta. But for the most part, man, everybody was here, and so growing up in San Diego, I didn't really see them that much except for when we went home for the holidays. So I loved it. You know what I mean? My grandparents were here. My mom's, parents. My dad's parents had passed away, so I didn't really know them. I didn't really have a relationship with them. But my mom's parents were here. My aunts and uncles and cousins and all that stuff is here. So I loved it. You know what I mean? I loved it. And then to move into a much more we moved into Bel Air, which isn't super diverse, but I went to these diverse middle schools and to see other people that look like me. You know what I mean? I think the first school I went to down here was the Imani school.
Right. Okay.
You know what I mean? That's all black.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it was a little bit of a culture shock, especially coming from San Diego, where I'm used to talking really proper and I'm used to enunciating all of my words, and I kind of had a certain like twang, like diction, being from Cali. So people kind of looked at me kind of funny, but it was really dope to see other people that looked like me, which I hadn't had that experience growing up in Poway, California. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's what's up. So I mean, so are you doing baseball that young?
Yeah. I started T-ball in San Diego in Poway, and then picking up where I left off in San Diego, playing Bel Air Little League, here. But yeah, that was always, and then again, I tried to do other stuff because baseball was only, this time to this time. Now you can play year round. You know what I mean? But I didn't have that until I got into like high school.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So that's when they got like real serious and shit. So did you know in high school, okay, I'm going to the league, or I mean, how were you feeling?
I always believed I was going to the league when I was little.
Or you just knew it?
I knew it, man. I was.
And let me tell you this. I don't want to stop. I hate to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
But is it because it was just in you like that, or is it because you were so close to it that it was like, shit, this is attainable?
I think a little bit of both.
Yeah.
A little bit of both. I saw the game pretty much. You could say.
I'm
imagining
imagining y'all living and breathing it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I saw the game every day on that level, and I just knew I belonged there. You know what I mean? My dad would watch baseball all the time and critique it, and he would sit me down and critique it, and it got to a point where I'd be like, can I just watch the game? You know what I mean? Can I just watch my favorite players? But, I think it was that him just not even like just nailing it into me, but just him just being around that type of baseball mind. I just felt I belonged there. I was, whenever I played on these leagues and on these teams, I was light years ahead of my teammates, light years ahead of the competition. I mean, I didn't really, and this might sound, whatever, but I didn't really have to work at it until I got to high school. You know what I mean? When I was 14 and I was playing against 17, 18-year-olds, you know what I mean? Then I was like, oh shit, I might actually have to hit this weight room. I might actually have to work on my game. And so there were a couple of years where I was, you could see the raw talent. You could see that I was really good, but I just hadn't put everything together yet. But before high school, man, it was like, it's easy. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know I'm going to do well. So yeah, high school is when it started to get serious.
And so then you graduated, and you said you went to college because they were going to let you play ball?
I went to I didn't get drafted out of high school.
Oh, that's what I was asking. You can go from high school to in baseball. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's I mean, there are freak shows that you're just on a different planet. You know what I mean? Like the Ken Griffey Juniors, like, you know what I mean, that go first overall, like the Bryce Harpers, like the like the A-Rods, like the, you know what I mean? But for the most part, you know what I mean? I think that college life, that college experience is necessary. You know what I mean? Coming out of high school at 18, 17, whatever, it's your first time away from home for most people. It's your first, like, kind of adult experience. And it's still structured. You know what I mean? If you go straight from high school, unless you're a guy, I mean, only one person has gotten drafted and never gone to the minor leagues, and that's a guy named Dave Winfield. And he's a Hall of Famer. But he got drafted in football and baseball. I mean, he was just a beast athlete, kind of like a Bo Jackson or like a, Tony Gwynn was drafted by the Clippers and the Padres. You know what I mean? But if you go from high school to the minor leagues, I mean, dude, you are on your own. You know what I mean? Like, for real. Like, there's no structure. I mean, there's structure. There's structure within the game, but outside of the game,
as far as your life,
you're on your own from this time to this time. You got to report to the field at this time. After the game is your time. So you really, if you don't have your head on straight, man, you could really get into some bullshit. And I've seen it. You know what I mean?
I can imagine, because when you said about coming from high school to college and that experience, I'm thinking about shit. Me being 18, like, going to college, just wilding, having fun, being a kid. Like, give me some money with that shit.
Yeah.
Crash and burn, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I've seen that too.
Yeah.
I've seen that too. But I mean, you get up, you go to class, your classes are over, you're going to practice. Practice over, you're going to eat. By that time, you're like, I'm tired.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's some structure there, and there's still some opportunity there for you to have some adult experiences, some life experiences, to where, now the next time you get drafted, or, when you come out and you sign, or you go get a job, you have that structure. You have that,
it's like a nice little stepping stone.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
From,
for sure.
From being a kid to an adult.
So, I always felt like I was supposed to be there, and, this college thing is just temporary. I'm just here for a little bit.
So you went in playing ball, and you went there for, was it a year, 2 years?
I went there for 3 years. So I had a.
And this is PV?
This is not PV at the time. So I bounced around, man. I went to 4 schools in 4 years. The first school I went to was University of Mary Hardin Baylor. I don't know if you know where that's at.
Nah, where's that?
Most people don't. It's in Belton, Texas.
Where the fuck is Belton,
exactly.
Texas?
It's in between Waco and Austin. So you've heard of Temple, Texas, right?
Yeah, of course.
It's a neighboring town of Temple. And being from San Diego, one of the bigger cities in the country,
and
Houston, fourth largest city in the country, and now you're going to Belton, where everything closes at like 7:00, and you're literally in the middle of nowhere. I hated it. I absolutely hated it. I transferred out of there.
So were you going to each place was for
each place was for baseball.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't gonna go just to go to class, like school. Like, what is this? You know what I mean? I was going because I was like, well, look, this is what I have to do. I have to play baseball. I have to get seen. I have to, pay my dues, and then I'm leaving. Then I'm going to go play baseball. So after that, I transferred to Lamar in Beaumont, and I hated that. I busted my ass. I balled out, dude. I absolutely balled at Lamar. In the fall, the head coach there, after school ended the previous year in May or whatever, and the season ended in late May, June or whatever it was, I was trying to find somewhere else to play. So had a meeting with the coach at Lamar around like late June, July, and he was like, look, all my scholarship money is gone. I'm like, look, I don't need none of that. I just need a place to play. So just shake my hand, look me in my eye, and tell me you're going to give me a shot, or I'll move around, try to find somewhere else. Dude shook my hand, looked me in my eye, and said, all right, I'm going to give you a shot. And I absolutely balled out, man. And then, he just kept fucking with me, like changing my batting stance every other day, putting me deeper and deeper in the lineup, like lower and lower in the lineup, just bugging me about every little.
Was it a reason for that, or was it just like?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I didn't, I've always been able to kind of keep myself on an even keel. Baseball is a grind, man. It's a long grind. You're talking about at the major league level, you're playing 162 games in 180 days. Yeah, that's pretty much every day. So seeing the game from a very young age at that level, you're watching these superstars play, and I'm invested in. I have relationships with these guys. Just seeing them go to the ballpark day in and day out and just grind, you see that they don't get too high or too low. You know what I mean? They go 0 for 4. Okay, cool. They go 4 for 4. Okay, cool. Nobody gets too high or too low. So I've always been able to keep myself on that level, level playing field, man. I don't get too high or too down on myself. But I mean, that dude was just in my shit, man. And I had no idea why. And then, I balled out. I think I hit maybe, I don't know if like stats like that, but I hit like 430 something in the fall, like struck out 3 times the whole fall. Whereas the other guys playing my position were striking out, 50, 60 times in the fall, hitting 230, hitting, a buck something. And in January, he just came and he was like, yeah, you're going to have to find somewhere else to play next year. I was like, what? So he redshirted me, and then he was like, yeah, you're not going to play for me next year either. And I had no idea why. Like,
was this somebody coming up under you, or was it some?
Nah, man.
Just the way it went.
I have no idea. I never got any answers. I never got anything. So I don't know. So I got redshirted, so I was still a freshman on the field. So I went to Angelina in Lufkin after that, and balled at Angelina, and then PV was trying to get me out of high school, and it just seemed like the right decision. I had people, look me in my eye and tell me that they were going to give me an opportunity, and I never got that. And so, when I had a meeting with the coaches at Prairie View, it was just something different about it. You know what I mean? Like, they looked like me. It was a team full of guys that looked like me, and I believed that they were going to give me a shot. Like, I really did, and they did. I mean, they wrote my name down in the lineup and left me alone. They didn't, you know what I mean? If I struggled or if I did well, they pat me on the ass when I did well. If I struggled, they didn't really bother me. They believed in my ability to keep that level, those levels. And if I, needed to make some adjustments, that I would make them and I would correct them, and then I would be straight. Whereas, they were kind of on some other people more than they were me. But, PV, man, I that's why I decided to go back, man. I just have such a love for that place, man. So after that, that's when I signed with the Nationals. I played for the rest of that year. So the season, our collegiate season ended in like the middle of June. I signed. I reported right after that. So I played another 3 months. And then I was back here for the off season, played the next year, and then that's when whatever happened.
Okay. So, do you talk about this shit or not?
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, I want to be uncomfortable in that, bro.
This is
You know
a
what I'm
fucking
saying?
podcast, man.
All right, bro.
You
Well,
know?
fuck it. All right, so shit. Boys was at. Nah, man. So I mean, kind of take me back, man. But you were home in between seasons, or what was going on?
I was in between seasons, so it happened. It happened on New Year's Eve, actually. I was in between seasons, working out, getting ready for the next season. I was actually working at Papados.
Okay.
Because unless you're what we call bonus babies, unless you go in that first couple of rounds, where you getting these like $1 million, high six figure signing bonuses, cats is working in the off season. You know what I mean? They go work construction, make a couple grand, and
That's why I never knew it was like that. No shit.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, so everybody on up until you get to maybe AAA. So it's major leagues, AAA, AA, single A, and then they might have like a short season single A for cats that just came off of high school or collegiate seasons, like that. But everybody AA and down makes the same. Whether you get $5 million a sign and I get $5,000 a sign, we make the same. Our paychecks are the same. It's that signing bonus that makes the difference.
Gotcha.
So, and that's another reason why cats go to college is to raise their stock. You know what I mean? Because if you're, and that's another reason why, the game is predominantly Latin now, because, they go to these, poor countries and get these guys for, $100,000. And they're like, oh my God, that's more money than we've ever dreamed of in our lives.
And they come over here and are amazing baseball players.
And whereas, if you offer me an American,
better.
$50,000 out of high school, I'm like, I can go to college.
Right.
You know what I mean? I can go to college, raise my stock, and get, $500,000 or $5 million. You know what I mean? Whatever.
Right.
I can raise my stock. There are other opportunities for us here. Whereas, those Latin guys in the, poor countries, they're not afforded that opportunity. So, so I was working at Papados because I ain't getting no crazy ass signing bonus. So I was trying to get some bread so I could live off of during the season. Cause I think so when I signed with the Nationals, I got bumped up 3 times in the rest of that season. So I in 3 months I got bumped up 3 times. So I would have pay increases, but they still wouldn't be crazy like that. Like I think I was making like $840 a month. Then
wait. It's like that?
Yeah, bro. I mean, so at that level,
even at that level though, at
that level, your housing is taken care of.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You're I was in the Gulf Coast League, which is in Florida, and it's you're basically traveling to, you're not staying overnight. You're just doing little quick trips to play games, and you're coming right back just in that little spring training bubble. So the Gulf Coast League in Florida is where, so the teams on the East Coast, their spring training is in Florida. On the West Coast, they're in Arizona. So they have Gulf Coast League, Arizona League in Arizona and Florida, and you're just traveling. I mean, you might take a 2-hour bus ride, but that's the extent of it. But your housing is taken care of. They provide 2 meals a day and a stipend. So really,
it's damn near like college, which is just getting a little money.
You're just getting a little money.
Yeah.
It's really you're just getting more of a stipend. Like that's your paycheck. It's just a little more of a stipend. But I mean, you don't really have to pay for nothing.
Right.
I mean,
so it's cool.
It wasn't like I had to like furnish an apartment and
right.
You know what I mean? And they
you're not living off of that.
No. And they bust us to and from the hotel. Yeah. So, but it was almost $900 a month.
$900 a month. Okay, so
you bump up a level, and I was in Burlington, Vermont. Of course they pay to fly you there when you get promoted. And then I was making maybe $1,100. I was like, oh shit, $1,100. And they set us up with host families, so we didn't have to pay for, housing, they would still, provide us with, a pre and post game spread. So, you only really had to worry about breakfast if you ate breakfast, or just wait and get to the ballpark and eat something. So, still, wasn't crazy. Now, when I got bumped up again, I think I was making maybe 15 or 1600 a month. And at that point, I think it was like maybe 3 weeks left in the season. 2 of those weeks we were on the road. So I just had to worry about housing when we get back home. You know what I mean? And I think like 11 other guys had rented like a house. So they weren't going to make me like pay rent for a week or, 4 or 5 days staying there. So I just slept on the couch, and, we all busted to the field. And, so, it wasn't crazy.
It was cool. Yeah.
It was cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, $800 a month, bro. So, so yeah, I was working at Papados, man. I was working at Papados, and it's crazy how that shit worked out, because I was off on the 30th. I was supposed to work the 31st, and then my family was supposed to have this big family party or whatever. So again, I was off on the 30th. So a few days before that, a chick came and she said, "Hey, will you cover my shift?" So I was like, "All right." So I showed up to work on the 30th, and they were like, "What are you doing here? You're off." I'm like, "Well, so-and-so said, she wanted me to take her shift." She was like, "Oh, well, she didn't write your name down. Somebody else picked it up. So you're off again." So I was like, "Okay." So I went to the liquor store, because, the next day, by the time I got off,
It'd have been closed.
it would have been closed.
Right.
So I'm trying to think ahead.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of what we have to do now.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Sunday we're gonna do a Sunday fun day thing. We're gonna try to drink afterwards, so we got to get our shit on Saturday.
Yeah.
So went to the liquor store, went to go hang out with some friends, and that took us into, after midnight and into the 31st. And so I was on my way home. My cousin and I dropped him off somewhere, and went and picked him up, and we was on the way home, and stopped to get some Jack in the Box or something, and got home and pulled in front of the crib in Bel Air, and there was I saw that there was some lights behind me, and all right, whatever, turned the car off and opened the door and kind of stuck my head out, saw that it was a police car. All right, whatever, you know what I mean? I've been in Bel Air at the time for 15 years. I went to Bel Air High School all 4 years, played baseball. I mean, if you're a Houstonian and you know anything about high school sports, you know that Bel Air baseball
that's big shit. Yeah.
It wasn't nothing to play with. And again, I lived at that house for 15 years. Like it was nothing to see a cop up and down the streets at 2 or 3 in the morning. Like that's just what they did. You're in a community with like 3,000 or so residents with their own police department. You know what I mean? It's not uncommon to see cops all the time. So I didn't think nothing of it. So, got out the car. He had passed us up, made a U-turn at the end of the cul-de-sac, and they were just sitting there with their lights off. And I was just like, my cousin was looking for his wallet. He was digging in the back looking for his wallet. I'm like, man, Anthony, fuck that wallet. We'll get that shit tomorrow. Like, it was making me a little uneasy that they were just posted up at the end of the street with their lights, with their, dim lights on or whatever. And I was like, man, we'll get that wallet tomorrow. So, walked up the driveway to the front door, get my keys out, had, Jack in the Box in one hand, liquor in the other hand. I'm trying to get my keys out. And, we heard, get on the ground. So we're like, why? You know what I mean? Like, why?
We just get into the house. Yeah.
And he said something like, we got to report that the car is stolen or something like that. I'm like, nah. I said, this is my car, this is my house. I said, I got my ID, I can show you. And he didn't want to hear none of that. You know what I mean? Like, it was a young nigga back talking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was one of those type of deals. He just got more and more belligerent. I'm like, bruh, like, I'm in my house. You know what I mean? I live here. I've been living here. I've been having that car. I think I had that car at the time for like 4 years. So, you know what I mean? That wasn't a new car with paper plates. It wasn't, a car with no plates.
Right.
You know what I mean? It
right.
was. So, my parents came outside. They had these. I don't know what you call these type of windows, but it's like that, and you do the little thing, and they kind of open like that.
Yeah.
So they had those windows on the porch, right by where we were walking up to the front door, and so they heard us from inside, and they started to come outside, thinking that me and Anthony was arguing, and they came outside, and I'm like, I see them. So we had like a little stained glass window in the front door, so I see them coming to the door, opening the door. So I'm like, all right, I'll get down, only because they're coming outside, because they finna come outside and fix all of this. So I'll get on the ground. And my dad came outside, saw that it was a cop, and was like, oh, shit, what's going on? And he said, oh, we got a report of a stolen car. And he said, no, that's our car. This is my son. This is my nephew. We live here. And then
that should have been the end of it right there.
It should have been the end of it. Well, okay, let's everybody calm down. Let me see some ID. Do you have ID, sir? Or, you say these two are yours. Right. You know what I mean? Like, that should have been the end of it. Which is the only reason I got down. Because otherwise, I'd have been like, bruh.
Like, y'all really wilding right now.
You are bugging.
Yeah.
I have my ID and my insurance. So he took my dad at gunpoint at that point and put him up against the wall, asking him if he had any weapons or, you know what I mean? Like, they in their pajamas, bruh. It's 2 a.m.
I'm trying to figure out, how can you do this at somebody's house?
Man, your guess is as good as mine.
I mean, this is amazing, bro.
Yeah. I mean, just from the cops that I've talked to throughout the years since this, and so this past New Year's Eve made 11 years. You know what I mean? Just the cops that I've talked to in that time span, they're like, that should have been the end of it. When their parents came outside, that should have been the end of it. Let's verify that this is in fact your car. Okay, because I mean, so when you're running the plates as a police officer, you're more often than not driving and typing, you know what I mean? So the protocol is, because, you could miss a number or whatever. So when it comes back as a possible stolen car, then you're supposed to call it in while reading it. You're supposed to call it in while reading it versus, boom, I might miss something. Now you're calling in on the intercom or CB, whatever, and you're supposed to read it. And then if it comes back, then okay, let me pull him over. He didn't do that. So by that time, my dad's up against he was up against the other car in the driveway. Excuse me. So he was up against the car in the driveway. My mom is like, yo, you are bugging. This is, you in trouble. Like, this has never happened to us before. We've been here 15 years. That's our car. That's our son. His name is on that car. You guys made a big mistake. And by that time, backup comes. Cause he had been, when he ran the plates, he was like, I need backup now. You know what I mean? He was like in a panic. And I mean, for what, I don't know. Like, and like we got out the car and ran up the driveway. You know what I mean? We were just coming home, walking up, whatever. So the other cop came in hot. You know what I mean? He think, oh
he
shit,
on 10,
he's in trouble.
Yeah.
Let me hurry up and get there. And so he came in, came behind my mom, grabbed her, and threw her against the garage door. Now I'm on the ground and I'm looking at all of this. Man,
Where's your dad? He's still against the wall.
My dad's still against the car in the Suburban in the driveway. I'm on the ground, but I'm on the ground on all fours, but or spread eagle rather, but I got my head lifted up like looking around. You know what I mean? And so I see that, and I just lost it, bro. I was like, get your fucking hands off my mom. Jumped up, get your fucking hands off my mom. Didn't say a word, just took his gun and shot me. Shot me in the chest.
Wow.
Yeah, bro. You talking about like 15 feet away.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Yep.
Okay. So, I mean, is he like made a mistake at this point? Like, he was just a...
Nah, I mean, they at that point, I don't know if you ever been shot before, but
No, I was gonna. I want to ask you what that shit feels like, but I ain't want to be too. You know what I mean?
It ain't great.
No,
You know what I mean?
I would imagine. Yeah.
So I heard somewhere shortly after that the force behind a 45 is about 2,000 pounds. So, you know, you can imagine, you know, getting blown back, because I was like when I pushed myself up, I had one foot on the ground and one knee on the ground. So like I was getting up and turning around, and he shot me, and that shit lifted me up.
Yeah.
And I fell back against the front door. So at that point I'm on the ground bleeding, and they take everybody away. They take my parents, put them in separate police cars. They take my cousin, put him in another police car. And the first one that came to me after I got shot was the dude that shot me. And he was turning me over, and you know,
so you still conscious in all this?
Yeah. I didn't lose consciousness at all. The bullet went through my lung, collapsed my lung, so I couldn't breathe. And he's turning me over, and I'm fighting to breathe. And he calls calls for ambulance. And the city of Bel Air isn't huge, but I think the fire department was maybe like a mile and a half from the house, but it felt like it took forever. You know what I mean? I felt like it probably only took 3 minutes or so, but it felt like it took 20.
Yeah.
But because I'm just sitting there like bleeding. I'm with this dude that just shot me.
Shot you, right?
I can't breathe, and so when they finally got there, the guy was like, one of the EMTs was like, trying to keep me conscious and talking.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was like, "Hey, what happened to you?" And the cop was like, "Don't worry about what happened. Just get him in the ambulance." And so they put me on the gurney, the stretcher, whatever. They started to wheel me down the driveway. And I could hear and see a group of officers huddled up. And one of them said, I can't remember, I don't know who it was for sure, but if it was the first officer, the second officer, or whoever it was, but one of them was like, people are about to start coming, so we got to get our story straight.
Wow.
And I was just like, yo. And then they put me, I didn't know where my parents were. You know what I mean? At that point, I didn't know what had happened to them. I just remember
everybody just went their separate ways.
Everybody just disappeared, and it got like mad quiet. So, I didn't hear my mom. Well, as soon as he shot me, he had to reach over my mom to shoot me. Like he threw my mom against the garage, and I'm over here, and he grabbed his gun and shot me over my mom. Like my mom is right here. So soon as he shot me, she started screaming. She started praying. You know what I mean? She started praying. And then all of a sudden I just didn't hear anything anymore. I didn't hear any praying. I didn't hear anybody, any commotion. I didn't hear anything, but that's because they took everybody away. So when I finally get in the ambulance, I don't know who was where. I don't know where my parents are. I don't know. But I just remember like trying to muster up the energy to be like, yo, where are my parents at? Like, where are my parents? They just kept pushing me down, putting the oxygen over my mouth, putting, pressure on my chest. But I just remember like, yo, where are my parents? You know what I mean? I was terrified, bro. I mean, that was the scariest shit ever.
God,
yeah, man.
Damn, man. Okay, so, all right.
It's heavy, man. It's I know it's a lot.
Yeah, bro. I'm just trying to, man, I can't even imagine, fool. Like, bro. Okay, so everything is over with. You know what I'm saying? What happens? The guy doesn't get nothing happens to him for this.
Pretty much.
There's no suspension, none of this shit.
He was on, administrative leave, which means paid vacation.
Go home and relax.
Go home and you're still getting paid.
Yeah.
He got indicted. And then, we went to trial and he got acquitted. And,
how does this even happen?
I don't know. I mean, your guess is as good as mine, man. Maybe because it just made a better story in the end. I don't know.
What was their defense?
Oh, he feared for his life. That's all you got to say.
Get the fuck out of here.
That's all you got to say, man. That's all you got to say. So, we'll revisit this later, but there's this thing called qualified immunity.
Okay.
And like that's one of the platforms that Julian Castro is trying to address in his run, right? He's trying to address qualified immunity. What qualified immunity is, if a public servant, police officer, is operating within the law and they shoot someone or cause an accident or whatever, cause injury or whatever, again, if they're operating within the means of the law, it's they're immune from prosecution. Is basically what it says. They're abdicated from punishment or responsibility or whatever. So in layman's terms, right, if you shoot someone, kill someone, or cause injury or whatever, and the person was unarmed or whatever, all you have to say is, I fear for my life, or I saw something,
and it's justified.
I saw something shiny, I saw him reaching for something, and qualified immunity. You know what I mean? He's immune.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the basis on what what ended up being the Supreme Court case was based on qualified immunity.
That is fucking amazing.
Yeah, man.
And so when it went to court, even with it, did they try to twist the story in the order of events and everything?
Of course. And
because I'm just trying to figure out, if you tell the story about you come to someone's house, they come outside their house, they get the gun pulled on them, you shoot the son, the car isn't stolen. It's just a whole bunch of.
So I think
like how you know what I mean.
That's
like
what amazes me and most people about him not being convicted. You know what I mean? And he was available. I mean, not available, but he was eligible for probation, bro. You know what I mean? Like at the very bottom of the list of punishments, probation was on the table, and they were like, nah, nothing, acquitted, not guilty. You know what I mean? But that's what's so wild to me, because when you're telling the truth, you don't have to remember shit you made up.
Right.
You know what I mean? Our stories have been consistent. You can check all the depositions, all the court testimony, all the civil depositions. Our story is the same, the exact same. His story, I saw him reaching for something. No, I didn't see anything, him reaching for anything, but I saw something shiny. He had a jacket on. I didn't have no fucking jacket on. He had a hoodie on. I didn't have no hoodie on. I had a t-shirt. He got up and charged at me. He was reaching in the general vicinity of where a weapon could be. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, just
all of
whatever
these,
you can
all
try.
All of these stories, these conflicting stories, and as a jury, you look at that and say, "Oh no, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm sure he feared for his life." But you know what I mean? Like the evidence is, the facts are the facts, right? My car, my house. Did you find a weapon? No, I didn't find a weapon.
This is what I'm saying. If you tell it off top, the initial reason for the stop in the first place is supposed to be a stolen vehicle, and the vehicle is stolen, and then it's all the shit that follows that. Come on, bro. And nothing happened. That's amazing.
Yeah. So after the criminal acquittal, I actually went back and played another season.
No shit.
Yeah, I played another season. I left the day after the verdict. The day after the verdict, man. If you can imagine being in that type of headspace, and you got to go and like be productive for your team. You know what I mean? It was good for me. It was tough. It was necessary. It was tough though, man. You know what I mean? It was tough. You know, having.
Because I mean that was national news, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We was on a month after I got released from the hospital. We were on Real Sports with Brian Gumbel. You know what I mean? It was on ESPN. It was on CNN. We did interviews for CNN, ESPN. You know, all of that stuff. And yo, man, I didn't mention this, but so I was in the hospital for a month. 2 weeks after I was shot, my dad had a heart attack.
Oh man.
So he had a double bypass. So we was in the hospital together. You know what I mean? Like all the at that point I was at Ben Taub and then transferred to St. Luke's after about a week and a half, 2 weeks. And I mean, the hospital staff was just super dope, man. Like everybody knew what was going on. Everybody saw the support that I had. Everybody who treated me or who saw me, you know, they were all like, there's some fishy going on there. You know what I mean? Like they were really, really dope. And so when my dad went to St. Luke's and had his procedure, they put us on the same floor across the hall from each other. So, you know what I mean? It wouldn't be as much of a burden on my family. You know, I was on the heart floor with all the heart patients. So, you know, they gave me an alias, you know what I mean? They were just super dope. But yeah, it was national news, man. So, it was really tough leaving. I mean, obviously it was tough to get that verdict, right? And then it was tough leaving after that because I felt like I was running away. You know what I mean? I felt like, you know, when I got released from the hospital, I didn't go back to Bel Air. You know what I mean? I went to stay with my aunt. And I didn't want my family in Bel Air. I didn't want my parents in Bel Air. And, you know, my mom would tell me stories of, you know, police cars parked outside the house, or just driving past the house, you know, more often than normal. So I just heard those stories, and, you know, even though I had this opportunity to play baseball again, I felt like because I was leaving right after the verdict, I felt like I was running away from that. I felt like I was abandoning my family. You know what I mean? That wasn't just my verdict. You know what I mean? That was my family too. You know what I mean? My family had to sit there every day at the trial and listen to all this stuff. And my family was, you know, were super supportive and at every press conference, every trial date. And, you know, meanwhile, I was on a plane to Detroit, and they had to sit there and you know, live with that funk, that stew, that cloud of a not guilty verdict. And so it was tough, man, but it turned out to be a really, really good thing for me. And I had a really good season too. You know what I mean?
So when you went back, did you just decide to stop, or did you kind of just?
I played that year, and I had a really good year, and then I signed to play with another team in Boston the year after that, and made it through spring training, and then they had just signed an ex major leaguer that played my same position, so I got pushed out, and after that I was like, well, you know, I don't want to deal with this again. You know, it was kind of just, I was kind of forced to retire after that. At that point, I think I was 27 6. Whereas most guys, my age had played, 3, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, some of them. I think I had like 2 years under my belt, 2 years in the 5 years that I had been a professional. So it was like, at that point, and then, I still had this bullet. I'm more of a liability. And no team really wanted to fool me after that. So I was just like, all right, guess I'm done then. So
that's when you decided to go back to school.
No, man, I went back to school at 33.
Okay, so after you get out the league, then what do you get into? Is that when you start getting into DJing and all that?
DJing more. Yeah,
okay.
That's when I started DJing. So again, going back to when I was a kid, I'd always been into everything music. When I was at Lamar, this is terrible. I actually put out a rap album. I put out 2 actually. I say put out, but like I made 2. You know what I mean? And let a few people listen to it. They're both awful.
You recorded 2 albums.
I recorded 2 albums, and then so I recorded the first my senior year in high school, and then I actually put that out. Like we burned a bunch of CDs and sold them joints for $5. You know what I mean? Like, and so I was like, oh, well, people, feeling it. Maybe I gotta, maybe I could rap a little bit.
Might be on to something.
So I recorded another one my first year in college at Mary Hardin Baylor, and maybe like 10 people heard that one. You know what I mean? Or it might be more than that, but it wouldn't. I didn't like. we didn't have no Spotify and then you couldn't put. I don't think SoundCloud. You didn't even have SoundCloud in 04.
Nah, you didn't. Nah. Yeah.
So.
You burn the CDs.
You burn the CDs,
hand to hand.
Yeah. So whoever I can't remember how many exactly, but whoever was taking a CD, I was giving them a CD.
Yeah.
And listening back to that, it was real bad. it was so terrible. Oh my God, I'm embarrassed, man.
So were you going by Robbie Tolan, or what were you going by?
I was going by. I think I was just going by Tolan. I think I was going by Tolan. It was bad, man. It was so bad. And then when I went to Lamar, I started messing around with Fruity Loops a little bit. Made a couple of joints with Fruity Loops and whatever. And then I think I actually started rapping again with my cousin. We had like a little group. We did a few shows in Houston, but that was a little before and a little after I was shot. So, like there was a little bit before, and then maybe like a year and a half later, we started kind of spitting again, and put a couple of joints on YouTube and those, whatever.
Yeah.
You live and you learn, right? You live and you work at it and get better, and
you figure out what works and what doesn't work, man. That's all it is, man.
You're writing more, so your lyrics get better. And, you're more comfortable in front of a mic, so your cadence gets better and your confidence gets better and all of that stuff. I think we would have been decent if we had kept at it. Are we gonna be the next Outkast? Probably not. You know what I mean? But we weren't. We weren't bad. And listening to this stuff versus the stuff in high school was light years better. You know what I mean? So if we had kept at it, who knows? But yeah. So and then my cousin. I was telling you, my cousin started DJing. My cousin Casey. DJ Mr. Wilson out in LA. He started learning how to DJ. I want to say maybe like 06 or 07, and so he would tell me like, "Yo, I'm learning how to DJ," and I'm like, "Oh, I always wanted to learn how to DJ." So he was like, "All right, cool, I'll teach you." So he came home for the holidays. brought his mixer and his laptop, and a Serato box back when we had to go through a SL box.
The boy said the Serato box. Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember
man.
that box, man. Yeah.
That little black joint with the SL and all that.
Put your RCAs and all that. Yeah.
So he just he would set me up with instrumentals on his laptop, just numbered instrumentals, and set up the I do the cue points, and I just learn how to beat match and and crossfader and up and down and take out the lows, and you know what I mean. So I just learned how to do that, and I just practiced that for like a weekend, right? Then he went back to LA, and I didn't see him for another 6 months. And then when he came back, and then he taught me, then I went to LA, and it was something. It was just like the next step in whatever that, learning was. So if it was, I don't think I got on actual turntables yet, but it was like, I think, I learned about like 8-bar hooks or, intros or I started doing songs then, like actual songs. So I learned, okay, well, this is when you want to bring this one in, this hook is 8 bars, so if this intro is only 4 bars, then start the, you know what I mean,
song structure and all that.
Yeah, so I started learning that, and then I think that the next time I did that for a weekend, went back to Houston, then I think I went back to LA, and then that's when I got on the turntables. So I think I was telling you I had like 3 or 4 lessons over the span of like a year and a half. And I became a DJ. You know what I mean? Like it was and he bought me all my first equipment, bought me my mixer, my turntables. I still got it at the house. Bought me my first Mac. Gave me all his music. You know what I mean? He set me up real nice. And so and I think I first, before that, I took over for him at a party at his house. He had a little house party, and he was trying to play host and play DJ, and he was like, "Hey, Robbie, you wanna come take over?" I was like, "Hell no, nigga, these is people." Like, no, sir, these are people, bro.
Yeah, I don't do it for real. I just practice.
I'm cool.
Yeah.
Nah, I'll wait till they go home, and I'll DJ for you. You know what I mean? He was like, "Nah, bro, you got it. Come on, man, you got it." And I killed it, but it wasn't hard to do when you're playing just hits. You know what I mean? I think that's I think the biggest song at that time was like "Every Girl." I like a long hair, thick red bone.
Yeah.
I think that was the one that was like the biggest, and so I played that and like stuff around that that genre, that BPM. I mean, I didn't have to do a lot. I didn't have to think a lot. He had all the new shit at the time in like a little crate. I just went through the crate and just started slamming these dope ass records, and they was and that reaction, I was like, oh man,
Yeah.
I like this.
That's when it hit you.
That's when it hit me.
Yeah.
So he he bought me all my equipment, shipped it to Houston, and I was still living with his mom, my aunt at the time. Awaiting trial, just sitting there doing nothing, trying to halfway work out and get back into shape, but I'm like way underweight. You know what I mean? I hadn't gotten all my shit back. And so I would wait until my aunt and uncle were asleep, and then I would get up and practice, and I would just DJ in the headphones, so I wasn't like making a whole bunch of noise. I had this set up on the bar, and I was DJing in headphones from like 11, 12 o'clock at night to like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And I just did that. Like that's all I did for like months. And I think I was like, all right, I think I got a good grip on this, right? I want to DJ for some people. I think I did a family thing, and again, I was just like, playing the hot shit or playing like, shit that I thought my family would like. All right, I want to DJ for some strangers. You know what I mean? I want to see if I'm actually like decent at this. And so I hit my boy up who I had met. I have another friend of mine that I went to middle school and high school with. Amir Bellamy. He goes by Bellamy. He's a singer in New York now. But I met a guy, and I know you're gonna know who I'm talking about. But I met a guy who was doing these live music shows, right? So he was putting on all these live music shows, and at the time I was trying to recover. You know what I mean? Didn't have no job, wasn't doing nothing. I was just DJing at home in my headphones, and then going to all these open mic shows with him. And cat by the name of Ahmad No Egos, right?
Okay.
So I hit up Ahmad on Facebook because I see Ahmad doing all of these. And he hates when I bring this up, but he was doing all of these shows, and I would get all the flyers on Facebook, and he would always send me a message, hey, come to my gig, come to my this. And finally one day I was like, hey man, it's Robbie, I met you with Bellamy, and I'm a DJ now, so I was like, I'm a DJ now, so I think I said, can I come DJ at one of your events, because he has the band, and maybe I can DJ when they take breaks. And he was like, all right. Mm. And that was it, bro. My mom gave me my first gig as a DJ, bro, and we worked together several times throughout the years, but that's the rest is history, as they say.
That's what's up. Talk about you and B Cox, man. How do you know? Talk about their relationship, man.
So Brian is Brian's mom was actually married to my first cousin.
Okay.
So again, I told you
your whole family, because one of your cousins was married to one of you said was.
Yeah, man.
The one of mine.
That shit wild. Got a huge family, bro. So my mom is one of 11. Her mom was one of 9 or 10. You know what I mean? It just that whole trickle down effect. You know what I mean? Like one sibling has 4 kids. One sibling has 3 or 4 or 5 kids. One, you know what I mean? So it's just, I got a ton of cousins, bro. Like people I don't even like.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Robbie, that's your cousin. All right, like, what's up?
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So my mom was one of 11. So obviously they range in age, right? So I think my cousin. Let me see. I think. Shoot, Daryl's probably like close to 60. You know what I mean? It's my first cousin. You know what I mean? So. He started dating Brian's mom. He started dating Pam years before I met her. Years and years before I met her. And then when my grandfather passed, all of the grandsons, were pallbearers, right? So we had this limo. We had the pallbearers limo, and Pam. I think that's the first time the first time I remember him bringing her around. The first time I met her. But it was one of the first times that he brought her around, or whatever. So she was in the limo. She was going to the funeral with us, and she was in the limo with us. And I told you, like, I'm like, that music is in my veins, man. It runs super deep. So I can't remember how we started talking about music, man. But we started talking about music, Pam and I, and we were just like clicking. We were just vibing, like. Just like, and then I was saying, like, I think I had I mentioned like 5 or 6 songs that I recognized, like, had similar styles, sound, not the same, but the same. You know what I mean? They sound like the same people made them shits. And she was like, yo, that's my son. And I was like, shut the fuck up. I was like, whatever, like, shut up. And then it was just, I mean, that's really how that shit started. And it was the funniest thing ever, because I guess she went back to him and told him, I was hanging out with Daryl's family, and they're so cool, and they just welcomed me, and this one little nigga, and I'm sure that's how the conversation went back then.
Yeah.
But then we just started spending every holiday together. You know what I mean? They would come over for Thanksgiving. We would go over there for Thanksgiving. They would come over for Christmas or Christmas Eve. My mom has this big Christmas Eve thing every year. And we just, every time he would come home for a holiday, everybody would be at my house. And so he would come and I remember the first time I met him, he acted like he knew me for like 20 years. You know what I mean? He just embraced me. He's, oh man, bro, what's up, nigga? Oh yeah. And I think I first met him at I think I was 15 or 16. I think I was 16 when my grandfather passed. Yeah. 01. So I think I first met him around 16. And I mean every time he came home, man, he was always at the crib, and it would be fun. It was funny. He would always come to the crib on his way out. He would always come home for the holidays and do something. Mm-hmm. Whether he was DJing at a club, whether he was hosting, whatever, he was doing something at the crib. And so he would always come to my house on his way out. And, I'd be like that little, where you going? You know what I mean?
Can I go?
You know what I mean? He was just so, I mean, you've met him. He's so chill. Yeah. He's so dope. He's cool as a fan.
Super cool, yeah.
And I we would talk about music and everything else. You know what I mean? And I just really enjoyed that time with him. And so whenever he'd be ready to go, I'd be at the door looking out the window you coming back though, right? You know what I mean? I would be like the little puppy in the window. And I'd be like, hey, well, can I go with you? And he's like, nah, man, you're not 21, dog. Nah, man, we turned 21. I got you. So this went on obviously for the next several years.
Right.
And then when I was 21, I was like, nigga.
I'm 21,
hey,
baby.
Bro. Hey, bro. He was like, for real? Oh, shit, come on. And it wasn't even a conversation. He wasn't like, oh, I ain't got room.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh, well, let me see. Yeah. It was like, come on. Bro, when I tell you that night,
yeah,
we went to M Bar.
Oh, man.
That night, it was shot up.
Oh, you went to legendary night.
Yeah. So the first time I hung out with B Cox at the club.
You wait to turn 21 to go to the club with a nigga in the club.
The club gets shot up, bro.
Nigga, I've been at home waiting for this.
The club gets shot up, dog. I'll never forget that. The club gets shot up, bro. And it was the funniest thing ever. It wasn't.
That shit ain't funny, but yeah.
It was funny now.
Yeah.
But when I always tell that story, he's like, oh man, I know.
Dog, that's wild.
And I think we have a really, really good relationship, man. And it's I always say this, but it's when he first started coming around, he would roll deep. Nigga would have 7-8 people with him. You know what I mean? And that was in the Jagged Edge days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was in the 8701 days when the bread was rolling in and we had, security and we had, 3 SUVs that we would and he would have 7-8 people with him. Myself being, 10 or 11 or whatever. And I had this fascination with DJing. So whenever he would DJ a set, I would just, say, hey, can I we'd be in a section popping the bottles and, everybody would be drinking. And I'd be like, yo, can I just come stand next to you and watch you DJ? Oh, yeah, come on. So it got to a point where we would get ready to walk into the club. He'd have his laptop. He didn't roll with the backpack. He would just have his laptop. And we get ready to walk in the club, Robbie. And he was giving me the laptop to hold. You know what I mean? I was the laptop keeper. So I knew when it was time to go on stage, I was going because I had the laptop. So, and I think it's really dope, and it says a lot about our relationship that, through the years, it's been, 7, 8, 9, 10 people, 6, 7 people, 5 people, and now it's just, 2 of us, me and Sean. You know what I mean? And even this last time when he was in town, just this past weekend, I mean, we was together every day. You know what I mean? And it wasn't on no big, we got to turn up shit. It was just, came to the crib one night and, we went on Instagram Live for 6 hours.
Y'all
DJing.
niggas was up. I happened to wake up and I'm like, these niggas DJing 5 in the morning.
Yeah, bro.
6 in the morning.
Yeah, bro.
7 in the morning.
Yeah, bro.
God
By the
damn.
time we went, I mean, we were just vibing and just drinking and having a good time and enjoying each other. And I mean, that's the fun thing about DJing. To me, is when you get to do it with your friends, or you get to do it with people that you look up to, or people that you want to kind of emulate. That's why Friday was so dope to me. You know what I mean? All of us at the Alley Cat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and you talking about.
It was a good vibe too.
It was a good vibe, man.
Yeah.
You talking about Sean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You talking about Ag? You talking about Soda? You know what I mean? Not to mention Reeks in the other room. Not to mention Flash.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We need to figure a way to bottle that and do that more often, man. Like a fucking block party or something once a month or something like that. You know what I mean? Where we just kind of going back and forth. Because I mean, it can get stale a little bit when you're just doing a set by yourself. You playing the same shit. You seeing the same people.
Yeah.
And bouncing off somebody else. It's like, oh shit, I didn't think about that. Okay, well, I know where I'm gonna go now. You know what I mean? It just kind of gets your wheels spinning a little bit. That's another reason why I want to start doing all vinyl sets too. You know what I mean? I haven't done one. I haven't done an all vinyl set.
No shit.
Never. I've never done an all vinyl set. And part of that terrifies me, but I want that shit to keep my juices flowing, keep my wheels spinning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But nah, B is dope, man. Brian is dope. He even went so far as to, get me back into producing again by, nigga gave me an interface, gave me a mic, you know what I mean? Listen to my beats. I played him a song I wrote the other day, and he was like, yo, all right, you on your way, nigga. You all right? You know what I mean? That's just how you talk too. You all right? Hey, right. I mean, and I it got a little stale for me because I was making beats just to make them. You know what I mean? I knew, I know artists. I was sending beats off, but then it was like, oh, this dope, and then it'd be like,
what you gonna do with it though?
What you gonna do with it?
Yeah.
Nothing?
Yeah.
All right, well, just keep making beats, and now I had like 100 beats that was just sitting there. So I'm like, man, I just kind of lost. I just lost interest in it
I've
for a
been there,
little bit.
bro. I've been
what I
there.
mean?
Like I go through them. Like, man, you make these beats. It's like, bro, the waiting game, bro.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that will drain a nigga. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. So I just kind of lost my passion for doing it.
Yeah.
But in a conversation with B, when I went to Atlanta, he was like, bro, just write songs. Write songs. Like sometimes, at least, if you have an idea, you know what I mean? It couldn't hurt to put something down. You know what I mean? Because sometimes, you hear a beat and you're like, oh, okay, that's dope. And then if somebody like, if you got a hook in mind, you write a hook. Now they can, okay. Well, now I can hear something on it. You know what I mean? Now, so he was like, start writing. I'm like, but nigga, I don't write songs no more. Like I hadn't written a song in like 10 years.
Yeah.
Robbie, you nigga, you a writer. You're a writer. Nigga, you wrote 2 books, Robbie. Robbie, you a writer, nigga. You a writer. And I'm like, oh, I did write 2 books. You know what I mean? It's just, it kind of just takes somebody to give you that push. And so, you know what I mean? Well, that's where we at now.
Boys back to writing.
Boys back to writing, man. Back to writing R&B songs at that.
Yeah.
Writing R&B songs. You know what I mean? So we'll see. I do want to put a project out this year.
Yeah, I said the same thing too, man. Like I've been saying it for a while, but I got to put one out, man. Like, I'm sitting on so much music, bro.
Yeah.
I got to do something with it.
I want to put something out. That's one of my 2020 goals, man. I want to put something out.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, maybe they got a collab or something.
Hey, man, I'm with it. I'm with it.
So,
Sign
yeah,
me
man.
up. I'm with it. But yeah, so shit. All right, so we got the book. Book is always on Amazon, or where you get the book?
Book is on Amazon. Book is on. I believe there's a Kindle version. There's an audio book.
Are you doing it yourself, or is it?
I did it myself.
Okay.
I did it myself, man. I recorded that thing, and that, I mean, it was. You don't really understand the process. To do an audio book, you figure like, okay, I went to the store and jumped in the car, and then you feel like you figure you're just reading, but it's like you're acting, bro. Like you actually have to like, act that shit out. And there's a producer that all they do is produce audiobooks, so they can hear when your cadence isn't the same, when the inflection of your voice isn't the same, the levels, and so you're talking about 18, 20 hours of recording for, a 7-hour audiobook.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's exhausting, but I did it myself, and I know the process now. Maybe I can get maybe I can get a career doing audiobooks.
Hey man, why not? Why not,
man? So, but yeah, the book is I'm sure they're still in some stores. But it wasn't this big, huge push anymore like it was back when the book came out. So actually, the book, what's today? The book turns 2 in 2 days. So
nice.
Yeah, man.
Nice. That's what's up.
Yeah.
So check it out. Got the book, got the DJ and the producer. What else you got coming up next before we get up out of here?
I'm coaching baseball. You know what I mean? I've been doing that for the past like 7 years. A little select team. I got like 14-year-olds.
Nice.
Just staying around the game, staying sharp that way, just in case something else happens.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Hopefully putting out a project, man. I really want to do that. And I got a couple of other moving pieces that, I can't speak too much about them just because there's still like I said, there's still a lot of moving pieces. But 2020 should be a cool year, man.
For sure.
I've been doing speaking engagements. That's never stopped. You know what I mean? Yeah, man.
That's what's up, man. You want to get your social media before we get up out of here?
Absolutely. It's Robbie_Tolan, ROBBIE_TOLAN. Yeah, that's really it. I just be on the Instagram thing. I need to get back into Twitter though. Twitter's popping. Twitter's popping again.
It's some wild shit on Twitter, man.
Twitter's popping again.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
I don't tweet a lot, but I'll be on there laughing. I'll be joked out every day, man.
But the Instagram is where you can find me, man.
That's what's up. Well, listen, man, I appreciate you coming through, bro.
Absolutely,
You know what I'm
man.
saying?
It's my
It's the Donnie
pleasure.
Houston Podcast. Robbie Tolan. Hey, man, we out.
Yes, sir.